Power of the Waaagh. When orcs gather in large numbers, a very strange phenomenon manifests. A kind of gestalt energy builds. A supernatural charge like the tension before a thunderstorm, exciting the orcs' raucous and violent tendencies, even as it feeds off them. Some amongst the Imperial Omegas biologists have hypothesized that this energy lies at the heart of the many inexplicable facets of the orc's essential nature. Orcs, for their part, couldn't care less. To them, this is simply the power of the Waaagh. A lot of odd things happen around orcs when they get themselves worked up, be it a punch-up between rival knobs, a Nasher squig eating contest, or the build-up to battle. Anything that feeds the Greenskins' aggressive natures also causes the power of the Waaagh to flow. Raucous excitement generates more Waaagh energy, which in turn drives the orcs to even greater heights of belligerence. This aggression intensifies until fistfights become riotous civil wars. Races become high-speed onslaughts, and mayhem generally ensues. Nor is violence the only way in which the power of the Waaagh manifests. It has been suggested that the orc technology works only because the Greenskins themselves believe that it should. This seems ludicrous, yet it is an observable fact that no other race can make orc technology work as intended. Then there is the manner by which Greenskins are drawn towards conflict, as though by some homing instinct. Is this ill chance on part of those already beset, or as some claim, are these fresh waves lured in by the call of the Waaagh? Reports even exist of orc warbands vanishing in storms of green energy, only to appear again subsectors away. This could be the result of xenotech teleportation. There again it might be something altogether stranger. If the orcs attach any significance to these occurrences, they simply put them down to proper orkiness, or, in some nebulous fashion, the wills of Gork and Mork. Some scholars claim that the power of the Waaagh must surely be the way in which orcs as a species interact with the warp. Whether this is accurate or not, a particular type of odd boy acts as a focal point for all this tempestuous energy. These unfortunate beings are known as weird boys. Mork, one of the orcs' two great green gods. Mork is said to be cunning but brutal. Rather than just bash his enemies over the head, Mork would rather sneak up on them with his enormous club behind his back than bash them over the head. He is, of course, a deity of loud apocalyptic destruction. He just likes to be a little bit sneaky about it. From Mork flow such notions as teleporters and blasters, complex flying machines, tractor beams, and custom force fields. Were a wily greenskin such as a commando to name his weapon, he would likely call them something like the Claws of Mork or Mork's Fangs. Weird boys is alright. Just don't stand too near 'em, lest you want to bounce to tag, bang like a bomb squig under a battle wagon. Weird boys. The lot of the weird boy is not a glorious one. Their lives tend towards the short, brutal, and miserable. The reason is simple. Weird boys have little or no control over their dubious gifts. If a weird boy is nearby when Waaagh energy starts flowing, a great portion of that energy flows straight into him. A storm of primitive power rages within the weird boy's mind. While crackling green lightning leaps from his fingertips, eyeballs and tongue. Ectoplasm drools from his lips. Fire burns through his limbs. An agonizing pressure builds within his skull. If the weird boy does not manage to vent this accumulation in time, it causes his head to explode, as though he had stuck a stick bomb up his nose. Even worse, the resultant uncontrolled detonation of Waaagh energy may even pop the heads of a few more Greenskins, unlucky enough to be standing too close. Aware of the dangers that weird boys present, most Orc tribes force these odd boys to wear jangly bells and bright colors to warn of their approach. The weird boys live in isolated huts or locked away atop rickety weird boy towers, and are happy enough with this arrangement. After all, Weird Boy has a vested interest in steering clear of all things explodey head related. Many even carry copper staves, through which they can channel away the energies of the Waaagh should the build-up become too much. However, when war calls, most war bosses look at their weird boys as convenient, if short-lived artillery pieces, and so insist on them being dragged into battle. Here the weird boys vent their gathered power in the form of heaving spumes of ectoplasmic power, vomit, skull-busting beams of green energy, supernaturally loud roars, and all manner of other spectacular and destructive phenomena, where most weird boys would quite like to be left alone. Some become addicted to the danger and exhilaration of battle, reveling in the rush of venting their built-up powers. These so-called warpheads seek out the very thickest press of battle, intentionally supercharging their tortured brains and unleashing devastating shockwaves of supernatural force upon the foe. Equally, there are those orcs who possibly, due to some quirk in their biology, are a few squeaks short of a swarm, known collectively as mad boys. They behave in strange and erratic ways, wearing all manner of overly colorful and outlandish garb. They have also been known to wield everything from dismembered limbs to metal chair legs to stuffed squigs in battle. Did it just say that an orc would be swinging a Blahaj? Okay. Bad boys are drawn to weird boys despite the risks they present, and whether they like it or not, often form impromptu retinues for the luckless odd boys. Enter the warp. When enough orcs gather in one place, a great migration often occurs. This is either caused by the Greenskins' innate desire for battle, or triggered by some cosmic catastrophe, such as impending warp storms, or the death of a star. Orcs and their billions swarm into space beneath the leadership of an almighty warlord, their hordes boasting towering war effigies, swarms of battle-tanks, stampedes of raging squigs, sky-darkening armadas of ramshackle aircraft, and countless other terrifying weapons. Being the straightforward creatures they are, orcs call such a migratory invasion force a Waaagh. Each such immense army is named after its warlord. For example, Waaagh or Waaagh Badzag. Everyone is capable of crushing entire systems, even subjugating subsectors if they gather enough momentum and numbers. And typically each is born through space aboard enormous agglomerate vessels known as space hulks. Orcs do fashion their own spacecraft, from small but deadly ram ships to the much larger kill cruisers and heavily customized asteroid junk ships known as Orks. However, any Waaagh worth its name employs vast tractor beams to capture a space hulk or three before setting off. These immense ghost ships are in truth the remains of multiple vessels lost upon the tides of warp space and gradually fused together by the energies of that terrible realm. Most species consider space hulks to be harbingers of doom, for they are often infested with monstrous beings and drop from the warp without warning, bringing death and destruction. For Orks, however, they are a gift, as the Greenskins get the fun of fighting and beating what other creatures may have infested their chosen vessel. Orks don't worry about where they themselves are going. They simply strap extra engines and guns onto their chosen hulk, point it at the nearest warp storm, and then take the plunge. Greenskins trust to Gork and Mork that they will emerge from the Empyrean near, if not on top, of some settled planetary system that they can invade. Gork, the more direct and belligerent of the Orks, two gods. If such a thing is possible, Gork is said to be brutal but cunning. He will not stand for anything he sees as mucking about, which is generally interpreted by the Orks as anything from bothering to formulate a battle plan to using high-tech weaponry, or fighting for any reason other than the simple joy of violence. Gork's influence is the most felt amidst the ground-pounding, brass-knuckled masses of the Goth clan infantry and the thunderous hunting stampedes of the beast snaggers. His war cry is the snarl of battle wagon engines, the roar of cannon fire, and the bestial bellowing of charging orcs. Gork is the divine equivalent of a boot to the teeth, a brace of stick bombs through a stained glass window, or a rocket-propelled asteroid dropped onto an empty city. Enemy city. In short, he epitomizes the most fundamental essence of what it means to be an orc.